Hello, I'm Crocheting on Mars, and today I'm going to be walking you through a tutorial on how to make one of these cute little sea turtles, or it doesn't have to be a sea turtle. We're gonna need two colors of yarn. I used a light green and dark green, but I don't know, maybe you want to have a blue turtle. We're gonna need some stuffing, and then usual tools of scissors, a darning needle. I'm gonna be using a 4mm crochet hook. And then depending on how you want to do this, safety eyes are optional because you can also just use black yarn for eyes. And then I also have a lobster claw keychain, which if you don't want to turn this into a keychain, obviously you're not going to need. So first we're going to make the fins, which are, there's going to be 4 in total. They're all made the same way. We're going to start out with a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we're going to work into the backs of the chains, or it doesn't have to be the back, but I prefer working into the back of chains. We're going to go into the back of the second chain from the hook, and pull up a loop, but we're not going to complete that. We're going to go into the next stitch, third one from the hook, pull up another loop, and we're going to do this all the way down the back of the chain, which means you're going to pull up 5 loops in total, and so once you're done counting the first chain from the hook, you are going to have 6 loops on your hook. Then we're going to yaw over again, pull through all the loops on the hook, and you're going to see it's going to pull into this nice little, gonna give a nice little arc on the side there for the fin. We're going to chain 1 just to lock that in, and that is a fin done. You're going to need 4 of these in total. So with the fins done, we're going to move on to the tail. And the tail is, in my opinion, just as simple, but there is a stitch that not everyone might be familiar with. So we're going to chain 3, and we're going to, into the second chain from the hook, make a single crochet. Then we're going to make what's called a mini picot, which makes it sound super fancy, but it's really not. So it's just from that single crochet we made, we're going to chain 2. Then we're going to turn and into the back of the first chain, so into the back of the one just above the single crochet. We're going to go into that and pull up a loop and just slip stitch all the way through, and that's a mini picot. So sounds intimidating, really simple. Then into the only stitch we have left, we're just going to single crochet. And you can chain at the end, you don't have to, but we're just gonna go ahead and cut that guy off, and there is our tail done. Then, of course, gotta get the head done, and so the head starts with a magic circle. Tons of different ways you can do a magic circle. There's plenty of tutorials online, or you can try to follow along how I make mine. Eventually they just become second nature. So after you make your magic circle, chain 1, then single crochet 6 into the magic circle, 5, 6. Then we're going to tighten it up. So we're going to join to the first stitch, chain 1, and then for the next 2 rounds we're just single crocheting in every single stitch, and then after that we can add on the eyes. So head's done, just like I said, 2 more rounds of all single crochet after the initial magic circle. Gonna cut off, leaving a fairly long tail, and we're gonna go ahead and add the safety eyes. Or if you're doing this with black thread, just you don't have to do it now. You can do it, you can sew the head on and then later just decide, okay, the eyes are going to be here, because adding the safety eyes now, you got to be a lot more particular when you sew it on to the actual body, which can be annoying. So it doesn't really matter where you put the first eye, just make sure it's between the second and third rounds, not rows, and slap your back on. Then, thankfully, since this only has 6 stitches, we're just gonna go 2 over and slip in our other eye. And we'll make sure it all looks right. And yeah, I'd say that looks about right. So the body is actually made in 2 pieces that are sewn together, but thankfully those 2 pieces are identical. So we're going to start again with a magic circle, chain 1, single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, single crochet into the magic circle. So starts out just like the head, and I have a habit of doing that. I find something that works and kind of just keep basing everything off of that one, pattern. Join back to the first stitch, and we're going to increase into each stitch around. Oh, chain 1 at the beginning of the round though. So increase, which is just 2 single crochet all the way around. There we go. Join back to the first. And now we are going to increase into the next stitch. Then single crochet into the next stitch. And just repeat that, increase, single crochet all the way around. So that's the end of the second round, and you might be able to see we're already starting to get essentially a hexagon, which is what we want, because we have 6 things we want to connect onto this little guy, and it's really easy if you have 6 kind of distinct corners to do that on. So next round, which you might have guessed by now what this is going to be, but it's an increase, 2 single crochet over the next 2 stitches. That makes it sound like I'm saying to do another increase, but no. So increase, single crochet, increase. And once again, we're going to repeat this all the way around. That is this guy done. And I've already made my other side of this, but you're gonna need 2, so have fun making your other one. And you're gonna want to cut this one fairly long tail, trying to say. And that's just for sewing on, because we do have to sew these together, which is what we're going to be doing next. So sewing stuff together is always fun when it comes to crocheting, and it's personally my least favorite part of crocheting, but I'll get over it, So we're gonna make sure that we have the right sides out. So these are just the ones that it's kind of hard to see if you haven't been crocheting for a while, but hopefully maybe it shows up on video what I'm saying between the wrong side and the right side. Or I guess simpler way would be to say whichever side your tail is on of the magic circle, have that facing towards the inside. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sew together just the back loops of both sides of these. And that gives this, you can see on the finished one, it gives this little ring below and above, but it gives this nice little middle part here where we can actually sew everything onto. All of the limbs and the head and all that good stuff. So we're just gonna go around in each stitch, sewing these together, and I don't recommend stuffing until the probably like the last 3 stitches. So like I said, into the last 3 stitches, and just gonna start stuffing now. It's up to you how much you want to stuff this. I guess you don't have to stuff it at all if you really don't want to, but I would recommend doing so. Don't overstuff is just the big thing I'd say. Like, if you overstuff it, then it's gonna just kind of lay weird. And so, just get it, you know, a little plush, a little bit firm, but not too firm. Then we're just gonna finish sewing up. So we're just going to get these 2 ends, you know, mildly secure, and then sew them into the body and cut them off. There we go. Snip that off. So now we're just gonna have to put everything together, and like I mentioned earlier, it's quite intentional that we have 6 increases around the body because we have 6 things to attach to the body. And so we're going to be using the increases as an indicator of where we need to attach everything. So we're gonna go ahead, and I like to start with the tail because I think it's it gives you a good perspective of like what needs to go where, versus if you start with a fin or flipper or whatever. Still haven't, you know, figured out what they are. I'm not a marine biologist, so we're just gonna say it's okay. Yeah, it can just be a bit confusing to know what needs to go where if you start with a flipper. And so if you're making this into a little keychain accessory like I'm going to be, it's important that you really secure this thing because, well, I guess you can attach it by the clasp to the head if you wanted to. I prefer the tail, and so I'm just going to make sure that's nice and secure before I sew the ends in. There we go, tail done, and we're going to move on to a flipper next. And so we're going to look from this increase, find the next one either to the left or to the right, and go under it. There we go. Can be a bit hard to find sometimes, and just like to get under the right stuff, so unfortunately you might have to play around with it a bit. And hopefully when you were sewing the pieces of the body together, you made sure to align each of the increases, so all of the corners. Probably should have mentioned that while I was sewing the body together, but I didn't, so we'll see. It'll probably be fine. first flipper on there, and as you can see, when I sewed it on, I made sure that the point is going towards the tail, because if not, it might look a little funky, but you know, who really cares? So find the next increase. Get this guy on here. So we're gonna go ahead and get on the other side here. Make sure that's pointing downwards. And just take a look at it, you know, before you go cutting any ends. Make sure it looks about right. Then give another knot. And I believe these are short enough actually. No, I'm still gonna have to cut a little bit off. That's fine. Here we go. And last fin, thankfully. That looks about right. You can see that I split the, accidentally split one of the tails on this earlier when I was, making the fins in advance, so I get to have a little bit more fun trying to sew it on because of that. Right, so there are all of our fins, tail, all on there, looking good. And so next up is the head. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut the tail from the magic circle down a bit so that I don't have to just work around it while I'm trying to get this on here. And so going ahead, we're going to place this obviously straight down from the tail. And if you used safety eyes, you're going to, hi baby, hi, you want to be in the video? Okay. That is, this is just a little visit from a cat. Hey baby. Yeah, you're real sweet. Okay. Can't be distracted. So we're just gonna line it up so that we're just about right on, and this is the thickest of any of the things we're attaching on, so it is going to go right about between the boundaries of where I pointed out earlier. Those lines are on both of the halves of the body. So that looks about right, and we're just going to very carefully, we're not going to thread the wrong end of the needle, no, we're going to do like we did with the body and only sew through the back loops of the head. Or I guess technically in this perspective it's, oh gosh, it's just weird. Anyway, you want the exterior half of the stitch to show, basically. It just gives a nice little border, as you can see here. So sewing this on evenly can be a real pain, so don't be afraid to undo and try again, because I think the last thing you want is a wonky head. And of course, if you're not using safety eyes, you don't have to deal with all of this. You just slap the head on, basically. And you don't have to stuff the head at all, which is really nice. There really isn't any room to stuff, because well, if you didn't put in safety eyes, you actually can just kind of stuff it with the tail from the magic circle. Don't cut it off like I did. But if you use safety eyes, yeah, really nothing in there, really no room to stuff, because the backs of the eyes take up really any space that's left in there. And so if you want to attach your keychain either to the head or to the tail, you're going to use this tail of yarn right here to do it. So if you're doing it on the head, obviously work it up and then I'll show you what to do. But if you want to do the tail like I did, you're going to sew the tail of yarn through the body. Then you've got to work it up the tail. There we go. Then you're just going to run it through the, you know, the loop on the clasp, whatever is going to attach it, or hold it. You just loop it through as many times as you think you need to make it secure. I'd say 3 to 4 is probably a good number. Just depends, well, partially it depends on how much of a tail of yarn that you have, because you might not have a long enough one to do it this many times, but it doesn't really matter. So I'd say that's pretty good. And now what we're going to do is, you can work it back through the chain again if you want, I guess. I'm not going to be. But get a loop, and we're going to tie a knot just by going through that loop we made. And we're going to do that again. And then hopefully, well, getting a bit ahead of myself, we're going to go under all the loops we made onto the clasp. Then we're gonna work back down the tail and up into the body, and hopefully we got it on there securely enough that it's not gonna come off. If not, you know, hopefully you don't lose it. It should be an easy enough fix. But with that, we've got another little turtle. We've got two little turtle buddies. Real nice. And, you know, just cute to put on like a backpack or a purse or keys, you know, whatever. And so I've been crocheting on Mars. I hope this video was helpful. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a cute little turtle out of it. And thank you so much for watching.